Annaka Harris, Conscious, A Brief Guide to the Fundamental Mystery of the Mind. Welcome to our summary of Conscious, A Brief Guide to the Fundamental Mystery of the Mind by Annaka Harris. Delve into an exploration of consciousness and its enigmatic nature. Learn about the connections between human behavior, characteristics, and consciousness as we examine panpsychism, the theory that all matter has some form of consciousness. This summary will take you on a fascinating journey through our world and beyond, as we discuss illusions created by the brain, the relevance of intuition, and the research behind split brain studies.
Unraveling Consciousness Mysteries. Consciousness, an elusive and mysterious aspect of our existence, often stirs various ideas about its true nature. To understand what it is, we must first determine what it isn't. The philosopher Thomas Nagel suggested that an organism is conscious if there's some experience of being that organism. With this definition, we can begin identifying experiences and elements closely tied to consciousness or ruling them out. Intuition plays a significant role in this process, as it guides our perspectives on what kinds of things experience consciousness. However, intuition, still not fully comprehended by science, can sometimes be misleading, making it essential to maintain an open mind when exploring the concept of consciousness. As we embark on this journey to decipher consciousness, our first step is to agree upon a foundational understanding of what it entails. In 1974, renowned philosopher Thomas Nagel proposed that an organism is conscious if there is something that it is like to be that organism. In simpler terms, a being is conscious if it has some sort of experience. For example, you, as a human, are conscious because you experience sensations. However, the chair you sit on may not possess consciousness due to its lack of experience. Armed with this basic understanding, we can now explore various experiences that may or may not be associated with consciousness. However, in our pursuit, intuition tends to play a massive role in guiding our judgments. Since no one has yet uncovered the exact nature of consciousness, our intuition helps to distinguish right or wrong assumptions regarding which entities possess conscious experience. Intriguingly, intuition is itself a mysterious phenomenon that remains enigmatic to science. Intuition refers to that gut feeling you experience when you sense something wrong without being able to pinpoint the reason. For instance, you might encounter a stranger on the subway who makes you feel uncomfortable, even though you can't immediately identify the cause. Subconsciously, you might have noticed certain cues, such as a flushed face or dilated eyes, suggesting potential for violence. Nonetheless, intuition can sometimes lead us astray. Throughout history, instincts have misled us until new evidence changes our perspective, such as when observing the stars shifted our beliefs from a flat Earth to a round one. Similarly, many people have a stronger fear of flying than driving, despite the higher risk of injury in a car accident. Thus, as we venture deeper into the realm of consciousness, pay heed to your intuition while maintaining an open mind to fully embrace the possibilities it presents. Consciousness beyond humanity. We humans, with our unique consciousness, often associate awareness or consciousness with human-like qualities. However, by diving into the research on plants, we discover intriguing behaviors and communication that challenge this assumption. Plants, such as Douglas fir or paper birch trees, not only help each other and protect their offspring but also exhibit memory and awareness of their environment. These plant behaviors raise two possibilities: either plants possess some form of consciousness or phenomena like memory and sensing light are not directly correlated to consciousness. We experience a specific form of consciousness in our human existence, making us inclined to attribute consciousness only to beings with human-like traits. However, examining life beyond humanity upsets this notion, especially when exploring the lives of plants. Groundbreaking research on the plant world, particularly the Douglas fir and paper birch trees, unveils a hidden realm of communication and interaction. Researchers discovered that these trees exchange nutrients through the vast, underground mycorrhizal network. Astonishingly, the Douglas fir can recognize its offspring, nourish them, and even communicate with them to help them overcome environmental challenges. Beyond this, plants exhibit an impressive sensitivity to their surroundings. They deploy toxins via the mycorrhizal network to ward off threatening plants, and species like ivy physically explore their environment to find supportive structures for growth. Additionally, plants demonstrate memory capabilities, exemplified by the Venus flytrap, which only captures its prey after 2 triggers are activated, necessitating remembering the first trigger. As we study plants further, we find surprising parallels between them and humans. For instance, DNA responsible for plants reacting to light and darkness is also present in humans. This connection presents 2 intriguing possibilities: either plants possess a form of consciousness, or phenomena such as memory, light sensing, response to danger, and cooperation may not be directly tied to consciousness. This insight challenges our assumptions and encourages us to investigate human traits that we often associate with, but may be separate from, consciousness. Consciousness, just a passenger. Our behavior primarily stems from automatic, instinct-driven brain functions rather than conscious thought. Our senses reach the brain at different times, and our conscious experience is formulated after a binding process has occurred. Our decision-making process resembles a driverless car's control system, where consciousness is a mere observer. Complex thoughts, often attributed to consciousness, are more a result of our brain's programming shaped by genetics and past experiences. Behavior-wise, humans are deeply influenced by automatic cause and effect reactions. Our instinctive responses primarily take precedence over consciousness. Various human senses get transmitted to the brain at distinct moments, and conscious experience comes into play only after these senses undergo a binding process. Thus, our consciousness is often the last to be aware of the occurrences around us. Numerous studies have investigated the timing of human perception and reactions, trying to deduce how much of our actions arise from conscious thought and how much are driven by instinctual brain programming. The decision-making system for our present actions operates similarly to a driverless car, where it absorbs information, processes it, and reacts accordingly. Consciousness merely observes the decisions and integrates them into our ongoing life experience, functioning almost like a passenger instead of the driver. Complex thoughts, often linked to consciousness, remain separate entities. For instance, when a thought about a long-lost friend surfaces, was it a conscious effort or a random occurrence? In reality, we possess minimal control over such thoughts. They are responses to our surroundings and a reflection of our brain's programming, molded by genetics, instincts, and previous experiences. It is true that we can consciously strategize our future actions, but when exploring the moment-to-moment decisions, these behaviors mostly stem from ingrained, automatic brain functions rather than conscious choices. The Great Self-Illusion. The human brain is highly skilled at creating illusions, one of which is our sense of self. This illusion convinces us that we are separate from our experiences and surroundings. However, our perception of self can alter or dissolve under certain circumstances, like using psychedelic drugs or meditating. These phenomena reveal that our consciousness and sense of self are distinct entities, much like how the flat Earth theory seems real until a different perspective is adopted. The capacity of our brains to create convincing illusions is astounding. Among these illusions, we often believe that we consciously control our every movement and action. Another illusion we experience is that we receive information from our senses simultaneously, even though various senses relay information at different speeds. Such illusionary behavior is also present in individuals with disjunctive agnosia, who experience an out-of-sync connection between sight and sound, causing disorientation. A more common illusion experienced by all is our sense of self. Our consciousness perceives everything happening around us as being connected to a central subject, ourselves. This perception makes us feel separate from our surroundings rather than integrated with them. However, in certain states, the link between self and consciousness disintegrates. For example, when using psychedelic drugs, such as LSD, people tend to feel more in tune with the world as their sense of self dissolves. A similar effect can be achieved through meditation, which heightens awareness and overrides the typical binding brain processes. Consequently, meditation practitioners often feel less attachment to their selves and more connection with the world. These occurrences demonstrate that the self is a mental construct dependent on our perception of the world. Should these perceptions alter, our sense of self changes, or may even vanish. Our consciousness still exists even without this sense of self, implying that they are separate entities. Ultimately, the concept of self is comparable to the flat earth theory, seemingly real until we allow ourselves to adopt an alternative perspective. The Intrigue of Panpsychism. The concept of panpsychism explores the possibility that all matter possesses some form of consciousness. While this theory may seem far-fetched, it aligns with our understanding of physics and biology. The closer we study the matter of which humans are made, the clearer it becomes that we share the same elements as everything else in the universe. Science typically rejects radical emergence, the idea that a characteristic can suddenly appear in an entity without explanation, which is why some scientists and philosophers have supported panpsychism. They argue that it could allow for numerous types of consciousness rather than limiting it to human-like forms, thereby leading us to rethink how we perceive consciousness altogether. The provocative theory of panpsychism suggests that every matter in the universe, including plants and distant stars, may have a form of consciousness. Though it might come across as science fiction, this idea doesn't defy our understanding of biology and physics. Instead, it harmonizes with the scientific concept that all matter is made up of the same essential elements. The consensus within the scientific community is that radically new characteristics do not inexplicably and suddenly appear in the substances of our world. Hence, this concept casts doubt on the notion that an element could occasionally attain consciousness without presenting a clear cause. In a quest for simple and comprehensible explanations, science tends to dismiss the possibility of such a radical emergence, making panpsychism an attractive alternative. Since the 1930s, several scientists and philosophers have supported panpsychism, including biologists J.B.S. Haldane and Bernhard Rensch. Philosopher Galen Strawson emphasizes that all physical phenomena are forms of energy, as prescribed by physics laws. Hence, panpsychism, which views experience as an inherent component of that energy, does not contradict the fundamentals of physics. In contrast, attempting to define a boundary for consciousness only invites scientific complications. It's worth noting that panpsychism does not claim a rock or any other inanimate object holds the same consciousness as the human mind. Instead, the theory proposes the existence of numerous forms of consciousness, many of which could be beyond human comprehension. Imagine perceiving light and dark or heat and cold without deliberating on these contrasts, only recognizing them on a subconscious level. Such limited forms of consciousness could provide us with a new perspective on what it means to be conscious, prompting us to contemplate the essence of awareness in a broader context. Unraveling Consciousness with Split Brains. The persistent mystery surrounding consciousness might be aided by considering panpsychism, the theory that all matter possesses consciousness, including inanimate objects. Although this idea invites skepticism, scientific evidence from split-brain studies reveals that multiple consciousnesses can indeed exist within one individual. Exploring these findings could potentially unlock answers in our pursuit to understand the nature of consciousness and its origins. Panpsychism, the notion that everything, even inanimate objects, has some level of consciousness, has long been regarded with skepticism. After all, it requires a significant adjustment in our understanding of the world. However, intuition isn't always accurate, and scientific evidence from split-brain studies might hold the key to unraveling the enigma of consciousness. Split-brain studies examine patients who have undergone a corpus callosotomy, a surgical procedure to cure severe seizures by severing the corpus callosum, the bridge connecting the brain's two hemispheres. What researchers found in the 1960s is that these patients experienced little harm from the operation, but it led to fascinating changes in their consciousness. Post-surgery, patients have two different experiences as the two hemispheres cease communication. You might think of each hemisphere as containing its own consciousness. To understand the significance of this, consider that the right brain hemisphere controls the body's left side, while the left hemisphere governs the right side in speech. Imagine a patient holding a key in their left hand, unable to see it. When asked what they're holding, the patient denies holding anything. This occurs because the right brain hemisphere senses the key but can't communicate that information to the speech-producing left hemisphere. These split-brain studies illustrate that consciousness can adapt when it receives varying information, demonstrating its malleability. This finding supports panpsychism, suggesting that the complexity of human consciousness might arise from the amalgamation of simpler consciousnesses in matter. Despite these revelations, we remain distant from comprehending the full nature of consciousness. Yet, maintaining creative, open-minded inquiries into consciousness could one day turn the corner and uncover its fundamental constituents, much like the elusive Higgs boson did for particle physics. By continuing to explore unconventional avenues, we may someday unravel the enigmatic phenomenon that is consciousness.
Thank you for joining our journey through the key highlights of Conscious, a brief guide to the fundamental mystery of the mind. As we have seen, consciousness is an elusive and ever-evolving subject, full of mysteries and open questions. We have discussed panpsychism, the theory that consciousness is present in all matter, and explored the boundaries of what we currently know about human consciousness. Along the way, we have examined the role of intuition and considered scientific research that challenges conventional wisdom. Keep an open mind and continue to question what the nature of consciousness truly is, as this rapidly evolving understanding of our experiences continues to shape our worldview.